Good afternoon, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this unveiling of our State of the CSM Nation survey. Super excited to be here. We are about 150 people all up, logging in from different platforms, so everyone feel very, very welcome. My name is Sébastien Chatelier. I'm co-founder and COO at Melting Spot. We are a customer community platform, and we've developed a platform and a methodology to support businesses, SaaS, professional services in the implementation of low-touch CSM strategies. So really excited to be here. Feel very, very welcome. Feel free to drop us a quick note in the chat. Tell us where you're logging in from. Please confirm that you can hear me loud and clear, and we will be kicking off in about 30 seconds. We'll just leave some time for everyone to log in. I'm just checking that everything is okay. We're live, so looks like we're good. Hey, Andrew, good to see you here. Hey, Tom. I can see some familiar faces. Always nice. Great. I hope you enjoyed the music vibes. I hope everyone is feeling energized and ready to roll. We have people from Canada, from the US, from Belgium, from Asia, from Australia. Hi, everyone. Super exciting. I think we're ready to roll. Please feel free to interrupt, ask any questions in the chat wherever you are. If you're on Melting Spot, drop us a quick note in the chat. If you're on LinkedIn, do the same. I'll be checking all platforms, and myself and the Melting Spot team will be answering questions on the fly, so you can take as much value as possible from this survey. So without further ado, let's kick things off. I think you can all see my screen fine. So let's get cracking. Okay. The reason let's start with the reason we've started this survey. We started this survey a couple of months ago, almost 3 months ago, knowing that the CSM function was really central to all SaaS companies, but more generally all companies around the world, and specifically in 2023, in the current economic outlook, it's getting a lot harder to sign new customers. So companies are paying attention to their existing customer base and trying to retain and activate as much as possible their existing clients. So the customer success function has been gaining a lot of attention, and we really wanted to find out what was trending, the trends that were emerging in this function, in this industry. And we already had two major trends in mind. Number one was we felt that in the CS function, customer relations had to do more with less. So everyone is seeking to protect their top line and then their bottom line in 2023. And so doing more with less was something that we heard a lot of and wanted to check that. And we'll see that this is certainly something that was confirmed by the survey. And the second trend we had in mind and we wanted to confirm with this survey is that we could see companies were doubling down on self-service, and both trends go hand in hand. So we know from Forrester that 70% of customers like to self-serve whenever and wherever possible. And so we wanted to confirm these two major trends. Let's talk about the respondent profiles. We've had over 100 answers, and I wanted to give a huge shout out to anyone that has responded to this survey. It's been really exciting seeing these answers coming through from everywhere around the world. We'll see that we have a very well-balanced respondent base across the globe. And so thank you very much for contributing. This has been really helpful. And in terms of job titles, we focused the customer success function. So no surprise there. We had a lot of CSMs, head of CS, head of customer X, CXO, and a few customer education managers respond. What we can say is that there were very few customer education managers to respond, probably because the customer success function hasn't really started specializing yet, at least not at a very large scale. It's still early days in the specialization. We come across a number of organizations that have started slicing and dicing the CS process with an onboarding team, a team of activation, a team for education, a team for renewal, a team for cross-sell, upsell. but in most companies, customer success wear one single hat, and they try to be everywhere. That said, we see a lot of customer education teams emerging, and the reason behind this, my belief, is that we've put a lot of faith in product-led education strategies. A product should sell itself by itself and should be used by itself. But the theory is nice, but in practical terms, we see that most SaaS and most companies have had to roll out customer education strategies to complement their product and make sure that their customers can use the solution or the service properly. So certainly something that's emerging. In terms of industry, geography, and size, pretty interesting insights here as well. No big surprise, SaaS is topping the chart in terms of industry. We focused a lot on the CSM function, so customer success is more elaborate in SaaS as opposed to professional services and traditional businesses. But what I meant to say here is that customer success isn't reserved to SaaS companies. What was once called account management in traditional businesses is starting to be called customer success. There's no huge difference between account management and CS. It's mostly a lingo thing, except maybe that customer success managers tend to use more digital-led strategy. And so we'll touch on that in a moment. Sorry. In terms of geography, very well balanced panel. Great to see that we had responses from all over the world. So this is really a global study, and thanks again for that. In terms of company size, no big surprise here either. We had a big, a majority of respondents in the 11 to 100 staff category. So probably all the hyper growth SaaS are in this category towards the 100 staff mark. And what we can say is that the States are a bit higher than Europe, and so is Asia Pacific, by the way, in terms of larger corporates. So when we look at trends in larger companies, we'll be looking at what's happening in the US more so than what's happening in Europe in this particular study. So a well-balanced study all up, and lots of interesting insights. Feel free to, again, interrupt whenever you have a question. In terms of benchmarking customer success organizations, really good insight here as well. What we see is that you should be able to pinpoint where you are on this chart and check if your CS organization is aligned with the benchmark. What we see is that in our 100 to 500 middle bracket, on average, there's 12 CSMs, so customer success managers, and there's about twice as many CS staff all up. And what we can say is that it's mostly other customer success functions such as customer care or support. So CSMs account for about half the overall CS task force. And interesting to see that on average, customer success managers cover mostly, on average, 10, it's a large bracket, but 10 to 50 paying customers per CSM. But that number is higher for bigger companies. The reason behind this is probably bigger companies probably start to roll out low-touch strategies more so than larger companies. With the amount of customers growing, there is probably a need to self-serve customers more so than in smaller companies, and therefore the coverage ratio per customer success manager is higher. So that's interesting. The more advanced and the more mature and the bigger the company is, the more high-touch customer success strategies are rolled out, and the higher the coverage ratio. So that's something interesting to bear in mind. A lot of numbers. I hope I'm not flooding you with numbers, but these are fascinating insights, and I want to make sure that I can share as many as possible in the 30 minutes we have together. Again, I'll check questions quickly. Feel free to interrupt and ask any questions as you go. We're going to move to a very interesting insight from the survey. We've asked if the customer success function was gaining or losing attention as opposed to previous years, and like the result is really striking. 65% of respondents are saying that customer success is gaining attention. And another interesting question we asked is do you feel that your budget in the CS function is under pressure or not? And 30% of respondents say that their budget is under pressure. So we expect a lot more from CS. Attention is growing, but budgets are under pressure. And that's no surprise compared to, like, given the current economic outlook. There's another interesting, if you look at the detail, there's another interesting fact. It's that customer success is less so gaining attention in the US. It's not such a big deal. And I was amazed at this results in the first place, but then I realized that it's probably because the US are a bit ahead of the curve in terms of customer success maturity. And so it was probably a really big thing in the past few years, and it's probably like slowly but surely like stabilizing in terms of attention gaining in the CS function. So interesting fact, a lot of expectations and budgets under constraints. So a hard place to be in if you're a customer success manager. You have to do more with less, and your bosses are expecting a lot more from you. So brace yourself. Which takes us to the customer success priorities. We're really getting into the nitty-gritty of the survey here. There seems to be a need for tooling. We know that customer success professionals are big fans of tools, hence the development of CS ops functions as well. There's a need to roll out new tools, but this is by far the number one priority among the customer success profession. It's to implement best-in-class tools to scale. Okay, so to do more with less, to cover more clients, and so it's something that's quite that's telling a lot. I see. Sorry, I've been sidetracked by a question from the audience, which is good. I'm going to answer that question. Tom is asking if the trend on customer success budget pressure is the same for all companies and all customer success team sizes. I'd have to look at the detail of that, but my guess is that the same holds across the company sizes. Maybe more so towards the bigger companies. Because they have been through the customer success evolution circle. They're a bit ahead of the curve, and therefore they've experienced strategies and probably have had time to close the feedback loop and pay more attention as to whether these customer success strategies are efficient or not. That's my guess, but I'll double check, Tom. That's a really good question. Back to customer success priorities. The second priority is to train and upskill the CSM teams. As CSM teams grow, there's a need to make sure that all customer success professionals are aligned as to what the process should be from onboarding through to upsell and cross-sell. So this is something that is coming back in pretty much all results coming through. And then the third priority is maintaining, and I think it's really aligned with number two, is maintaining up-to-date CS processes. Whether you have a product-led strategy, sales-led strategy, at some point, customer success is central because you need to activate and retain your customers. But it's still a very process-heavy function, and so maintaining these processes is top of mind. Very interestingly, cross-selling and upselling, which yet is a very central part of the CS function, and I was very surprised at this result, come last. And I wondered if this was because customer success professionals are like geared towards helping customers, caring for customers, and maybe not so selling. And that's partly true, I guess. CSMs tend to like be closer to care than to sales. But I also think that in the current outlook, it's all about retaining customers. So not so much about upselling them. I don't mean that this is not important, but my guess is that the churn rate is now more important in these current times than the upsell rates. But I might be wrong there. Feel free to prove me wrong. But that's my guess as to why upselling and cross-selling came last in this survey. In terms of job titles, we've tried and be a bit more detailed by job title and geography. The C-suite is like cares about best-in-class tools as well, so everyone cares about tools, which is great, because I think that's one part of the answer to like being very efficient in your customer success, and maintaining like high-quality processes as well. Asia Pacific has a focus on processes more so than tooling in Europe and the Americas. I think we have another question. What about customer chief revenue officers in that trend? We haven't sliced and diced our audience with this job title, but I assume that CROs will be looking very closely both at churn and upsell, anything that has a direct impact on the top line. So my guess is that their priorities are probably very aligned with the CEO priorities, and that fighting churn and improving upselling cross-sell is probably high on their list. We're going to actually dive into this detail in our next slide. So bear with me, artists, on that one. Okay. Okay. Right. Speaking about tools, this is a super interesting insight as well. We've asked all respondents what tools they are using. Very neutral question, like just tell us what tools you're using, and then we've asked them how satisfied they were overall across the board with their current toolbox. Email and phone are like topping the charts big time. All success managers, all customer success managers mostly use email and phone to interact with their customers, which is surprising and not so surprising at the same time. Not so surprising because these are the two like traditional communication channels that have been used like for the last 20 years, and surprising because emails are becoming increasingly hard to deliver. The delivery rates and the deliverability rates of emails is and opening rate is also like going south dramatically. And phone support is great, but if you're covering 60, 70 customers, you might not find it super easy, sorry, to have all your interactions through the phone. So not very scalable, which is why we're also seeing other tools being increasingly used, and more specifically customer success platforms. And interestingly enough, something we're very familiar with at Melting Spot, customer community platforms, which is a central place where your customers can interact with each other, interact with the CSM, consume on-demand content, attend live demos, live webinars. So a central place for all customer-facing content. And this is being increasingly used. And something to note is that it's increasingly used in Asia Pacific, which is also where the satisfaction score is the highest, with like over 7 out of 10 in terms of how satisfied customer success managers are with their toolbox. So, like, to summarize this slide, I think it's a very interesting slide. Traditional communication channels are still topping the charts, and yet customer success managers are not hugely satisfied with their current toolbox. And I think it's fair to say that alternatives to email and phone are picking up, and rightly so, because they are more suited to today's communication trends. I think I'm just checking that I'm not missing any questions. I'm trying to maintain a good pace, but please interrupt and ask any questions as you go. Okay. Tom is asking, in those stats, digital-led CS considered a tool or a process? It's probably a bit of both. Like digital-led customer success means that you're using digital tools, and you also have processes associated with these tools. So I guess we're focusing on that, and we'll be touching on that in the next slide, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. Tom, you should have your answer here. Okay, diving in, like zooming in a bit more again into digital-led customer success activities. These are the type of activation strategies that are being rolled out by respondents. We've sorted them by percentage. So digital activities, live product demos are like coming first. So you're increasingly using live demos to showcase your products, your services, and there's probably a very good reason for that. Nothing beats the live in terms of interactions and the ability to actually answer questions from the audience. So as opposed to an on-demand video where you can't really ask questions, here in live you can ask questions, maybe challenge the product marketing teams around their product priorities. And so this is an interesting format which is getting a lot of attention. Webinars as well, so very similar to live product demos, but focusing on like more educational content or industry trends. 58% of respondents are using webinars. On-demand video tutorials is also a big thing. You use this in your help center probably, that you've organized by functionality or by feature, and within each separate bracket you might use video tutorials to educate and onboard your customers. 42% of respondents also use live group onboarding sessions, which is interesting because this is something very low touch. Rather than going one-on-one with your onboarding, with your customer onboarding, you might choose for a specific customer segment, and probably like smaller ACV, annual contract value customers, you might choose to go group onboarding sessions, which is a great way to scale your onboarding and yet maintain some level of human interaction because it's happening live and you can still take questions from the audience. You can still interact with your customers, but you do this as a group. E-learning modules are also being used. Interesting to note that they're used in larger corporations, and there's probably a reason for that. They're hard to maintain. The e-learning format is sometimes a bit pushy in that you have to go through a particular learning path, and you can't take lesson 2 if you haven't taken lesson 1, which is something that we're not seeing really taking up within our investigations and the work that we do in customer success. So might not be a very trendy thing, but live video is definitely getting more attention than e-learning. And online support forums, surprisingly enough, are not very well used. Only 37% of respondents are using an online support forum. This number is increasing though, and we see an increasing number of SaaS, more specifically, using online forums mostly to deflect customer support tickets or calls. And this is proving very, very efficient. What we're seeing is that in companies that have rolled out an online support forum, call deflection goes as far as 90%. So 10 times less calls to support or tickets to support than companies that haven't rolled out a support forum. And there's also this horizontal element to support forums, which is something which we're seeing as a big trend for low touch customer success strategies. The ability for customers to be able to seek the information among their peers is something that's very valuable. Any message delivered by a peer is always stronger than the message that the CSM themselves could deliver to customers. So something that's picking up as well. Let's move on to the challenges that you're facing, and we're coming to the end. There's 2 slides left, so we should be on time. In terms of challenges like top of mind, what's your number 1 challenge as a CSM or as a CS director or head of CS? Fighting churn is number 1. This is very very coherent with what I was telling earlier around the fact that upsell and cross-sell is not so much a priority in 2023, but retaining customers is number 1 priority. So that's interesting. New feature adoption, so customer education, and more specifically product and feature adoption is high as well. It comes second, and it's even more challenging in very small, in VSB, very small businesses. Like 60% of businesses want to focus on feature adoption of small businesses. Number 3 is customer onboarding, something we focused on in our latest masterclass a couple of weeks back. And this number is higher in Europe, less so in Asia Pacific. My guess is that customer onboarding is still something that the like SaaS companies and professional services in Europe are trying to crack. Something that's very like managed on a very ad hoc, at a very ad hoc level. Not very standardized, but as low touch strategies emerge, onboarding is gaining a lot of attention, and the ability to scale your onboarding is something that's top of mind for customer success managers. And then lastly, we have customer advocacy, another big challenge, making sure that their customers can voice, like can have a say and become influencers and advocates within the group, which also aligns with the fact that more and more customer communities are emerging. A community is a great way to build advocacy among your customer base. And brand awareness is also central. We're in the world of customer success, not sales and marketing, but not as central as sales, but the ability to deliver your brand messages is important as well. And reducing inbound support calls for 26% of correspondence. We've touched on that already. Hope you find this useful and aligned with your own pains and challenges. If not, give me a shout now in the chat. If there's another problem or another nut that you're trying to crack that's not on this slide, feel free to give us a shout in the chat. It's time for conclusion. Time's up, so I'll be brief, but here's like at a very high level the top 4 takeouts from this survey. Number 1 is that customer success is gaining attention across the board, across the globe. So customer success is probably a very good business to be in. And in the current economic outlook, SMBs are also catching up on larger corporates in terms of tooling and processes. Which is interesting. Secondly, CS teams are asked to implement tools and processes to scale. So doing more with less, supporting more self-service support and success is something that's really topping the charts in terms of priorities, especially in the Americas, where we believe that budget is a bit more under pressure because they're slightly ahead of the curve as opposed to other geographies. Number 3 is that top priority tools to scale CS operations. Top priorities are tools and training upskilling of your customer success teams. And so making sure you find the right tool to self-serve your customer success, to scale your low-touch strategies is something that's of the utmost importance to customer success professionals. And lastly, digital-led customer success activities are also gaining a lot of attention. Even though you keep using traditional channels, you probably realized by now that it's increasingly hard to get to your customers using their inbox or their phone. So time for a change probably in that field, and time to roll out new communication channels. And we've touched on some of them, like customer community, support forums. They're all great ways to interact and engage with your customers in a new fashion. Okay, thanks, Artis. Great question from Artis. According to you, what are existing top customer success tools to scale operations and trainings, to scale customer success operations and to scale the training of CS teams, as per my conclusion slide? I have to give a slightly biased answer here, because we've developed a platform, a customer community platform. So I'll be probably tempted to say that a customer community is a great tool, but like, if I'm trying to be as objective as possible here, I think the ability to support horizontal communication among your customer base is something that's absolutely central to scaling, both from a support perspective, because questions from customer A might have been answered by customer B, so they don't have to channel through support, and so something that makes support more efficient. Probably reason one, and reason two is that, as I pointed out earlier, communication channels are crowded. My take is that you need to offer your customers with a safe place where they know they can turn to with any question. They know they can speak to their peers if they have questions using your product or your tools. They know you can get to their designated customer success manager if they have one, and they can drop them a line in a direct message, not an email, not something that will be buried in their inbox. So for those two reasons, I think that customer communities are really going to be increasingly used in the near future. Tom's asking a question again. Good one, Tom. Did anyone bring AI up as a CS challenge? Does anyone fear AI would have a negative impact on team size or allow them to be more performant? Anything on that? That's an awesome question. That's an awesome question, and I went at London Tech Week earlier this week, and then Viva Tech in Paris earlier today, and AI is everywhere, and rightly so. My take is that generative AI is something that will be super useful to customer success managers, that will really help them take the hassle out of most of the content they have to generate. That they can generate content, be it answers to questions, the drafting of tutorials, of articles. So that's something that can be super helpful. But I think that it's not so much content generation, but more so the ability for AI to inform customer success with the next best action based on how engaged their customer is on the community platform, how engaged they are in the forum, how engaged they are with the product. AI should be able to bring all these inputs together and suggest a next step. For example, invite customer to like an on-site breakfast, or invite customer to a webinar, invite customer to a new feature demo, drop a personal note to customer, congratulate customer for like hitting a score of 100 on the platform if you have rolled out gamification strategies. So my take is that AI will be super helpful in helping CS take the right next best action with their customers, and to a lesser degree also help them drafting the right content. Do you concur with that, Tom? Do you agree? Hope so. Cool. Time's up, but I'll make a last final check on questions in the chat. I'll turn to Anne and my team as well, who's been monitoring chat. Thanks, Anne. Is there any other outstanding question? No, we're good. Awesome. Well, I want to finish up with two things. One, the survey for which we presented results today is still open. So please, if you haven't taken the survey, take it. Have your say. We'll be presenting updates to this piece of research on a quarterly basis. So please respond to this survey. It's super helpful. You're free to leave us your email address in the survey so we can send you the the results. We'll be prepping a shorter version of this slide deck to share results. We'll be sharing results on the Melting Spot platform that you're on. If you're following on LinkedIn, we'll be sharing results in a quick email in LinkedIn. That's number one. And number two, we have a very exciting agenda coming up with more masterclasses around customer success. And so if you're following us on Melting Spot, at the end of this live, feel free to go back to lives and sign up to one of our upcoming masterclasses to make sure that you don't miss out on any other CSM trends. So looking forward to seeing you on those next events. And lastly, if you have any further questions, feel free to either drop them in the chat or drop me a note. Go to the members section of the Melting Spot platform and look me up, Sébastien Chatelier, and drop me a note, and I'll be responding as fast as I can. So with that, I'm going to thank you all. Have a good day in the US, a good night in Europe, and sweet dreams in Asia Pacific. And I'll be in touch. Look forward to the next events. Speak to you soon. Cheers.